Sometimes the space exploration world throws around rumors that keep us all on our toes. And the latest is that NASA might drop SpaceX's Starship as the lunar lander for Artemis. Sean Duffy, interim NASA administrator, recently hinted on television that the contract for the first US moon landing since Apollo in 1972 will be put out for bid again. And that really got Elon Musk worked up. But before we dive into the rumor mill, there are some juicy updates from Starship's Flight 11 with brand new videos and the stage separation from the splashdown in the Indian Ocean and the construction work at Starbase. I'm Sowan and this is Mars Chronicles. Shall we take off? Starship updates. Let's start with the Starship updates because SpaceX gave us a visual feast with Flight 11. You already know the breathtaking drone footage of the ship landing in the Indian Ocean, but now there are new perspectives from two buoys. Take a look at this. The ship comes through a cloud, ignites the Raptors for the flip and burn, and the heat shield tiles flutter around. An incredible spectacle, plus a side view that reminds you of the SN10 landing shows how far the technology has come since then. Compare that with Ship 31 from Flight 6, which was super scorched. It's still a long way to a damage-free re-entry, but everything here looks more controlled. The spots where the heat shield tiles were deliberately missing for testing purposes seem to have holes where the propellant was leaking out. But despite major damage, the ship managed to splash down gently in relatively good condition. And then the booster ignition in real time, not in slow motion like always before. 5,000 tons lift off in seconds. An incredible testament to engineering, the unleashed power of the 33 Raptor engines up close and in real time. The booster landing with hover and drop is also spectacular, even though SpaceX cuts the explosion out of the video, probably to avoid sensational headlines. But NASA spaceflight caught it. The booster explosion was part of the plan, not a setback, like some media want you to believe. Why did the booster fall from a high altitude into the water while the ship made a gentle water landing? The Gulf of Mexico, where the booster lands, is only a few kilometers from a major port and is shallow. If it sinks upright, the engines could touch the seabed and half of it would stick out, making it a hazard for shipping. We must not forget that this booster is over 70 meters tall. International traffic in arms regulations restrictions protect sensitive technology. In other words, this maneuver is easier to approve under military regulations than a soft water landing. The ship in the Indian Ocean, on the other hand, lands in deep water far from shipping routes, with SpaceX ships on site controlling buoys and drones. There are rumors that SpaceX might tow intact ship parts to Australia to collect data, like back then when Ship 31 landed almost completely intact in the water. About the hover thing, let me just say this, it's just a demo, not a requirement. During the real catch, everything stays in a descent to save fuel. The flight between the catching arms and onto the rails is timed so precisely that hovering isn't even necessary. The ground facilities have appropriate damping systems on the rails and on the inner sides of the arms. Additionally, the arms are slightly flexible to absorb part of the load as well. By the way, if you want to have this and other space news delivered directly to your inbox, sign up for the Mars Chronicles newsletter for free at Mars in Space. The link is below in the description. Things continue at Starbase. After Flight 11, SpaceX flushed the deluge system and emptied the CO2 fire suppression, which indicates assembly. Pad 1 stood still for a few days afterwards, then fences and heavy equipment arrived. Shortly after, the crews began demolition work on the tank farm retaining wall. I have a few questions here. Will the chopsticks and the quick disconnect arm be modified for Block 3 or built new? Will Tower 1 be extended or will it stay as it is? How does SpaceX plan to demolish these massive, reinforced concrete pillars that reach almost 43 meters into the ground? Or will they stay underground and contribute to soil compaction? If we have structural engineers and architects in the audience, write down what you think. But even if you don't have a relevant degree, I'm still interested in what you think. So when will part 1 be online again? If I were forced to make an estimate, I would have said that one will be operational sometime at the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027. Part 2, in any case, is making great progress. The exterior cladding is almost finished. The deluge system has been tested, and both liquid oxygen and methane quick disconnects were successfully extended and retracted. Check out the NASA spaceflight footage of it. The doors close lightning fast to protect the QDs from Raptor exhaust. They're digging across from the air separation unit at the new roundabout, maybe for pipes that will carry oxygen, nitrogen, and argon to the tank farm. If you're wondering what this air separation unit might look like in the future, wonder no more. Here, on the other side of Brownsville, a few kilometers away from Starbase, Linde is also building a similar facility. However, they are a bit further along than SpaceX. Let's take a look at the exciting progress on Starship Block 3, because the future is being built here. Ship 39, the first of its generation, will soon launch from Pad 2 at Starbase, a milestone for SpaceX. Especially cool under the Starlink payload door, there are round docking ports specially designed for orbital refueling maneuvers. Block 3 introduces male and female ships that fit together like puzzle pieces in space to transfer fuel for Moon and Mars missions. Production is buzzing at the Star Factory in Texas. Ship 39 is already equipped with its payload bay and nose cone, while Ship 40 is being fitted with heat shield tiles in the assembly hall. Ship 41 is next to it, and ships 42 and 43 are close behind in production. Just a reminder, we're still in the prototype phase. The design hasn't been finalized yet. Once that happens, the production question, frequencies will increase even further. Meanwhile, Booster 18 is being stacked in the Mega Bay for the next generation. What about the new Raptor 3 engines? For the past few weeks, we weren't sure if SpaceX had produced enough engines for the upcoming flights. The ones with serial numbers 38 and 39 have already been spotted in McGregor. More thrust, more efficiency, and pure power. Dozens of engine tests have been carried out here over the past few days. It is believed that at least some of them were Raptor 3 ignitions. Things are also progressing in Florida. At Launch Complex 39A, the LR 13,000 crane towers above the treetops, and satellite images from Harry Stranger show impressive progress in the construction of the tank farm and the flame trench. 2 out of 4 planned cranes are already in the Gigabay. The pace is picking up and soon things will really get going, namely with the construction and launch of Starships and super heavy boosters. Here too we can't avoid making an estimate. Pause the video here and write your estimate in the comments. I believe that SpaceX completed the Gigabay in Florida in 6 to 10 months. Then they could start bringing in individual ship and booster structures from Starbase by crane and finish them in the Gigabay in Florida. Because there's still no sign of the planned Star Factory here, of course, I could be way off with this. But we could see a total of 20 Starship launches in 2026. Among them, the first missions will also take place from the Cape. By then, the Star Factory in Florida will also be completed. Which means that in 2027, we could already enjoy 40 or 50 launches. And when the Mars transfer window opens in 2028, in preparation for that, we will also see a lot of launches. I estimate that by 2028, there could already be 100 missions launching. That, of course, includes all the refueling missions. NASA rumors about Starship human landing system. Now, to the big question that's been circulating for a few days, will NASA cancel the Starship human landing system? Artemis 3 is supposed to be the first US moon landing since 1972 with Starship as the lander, commissioned since 2021. Artemis 4 also has Starship, while Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark II is planned for Artemis 5. Artemis 5 is scheduled for 2030 at the earliest. But Starship V2 had setbacks, early flights failed, and the demonstration of orbital refueling, which is essential for a human landing system, could not be carried out. All of this was supposed to happen this summer, but it remains untested. NASA Chief Sean Duffy says SpaceX is behind schedule and the US wants to land on the moon before China does in 2030. So NASA is opening the contract for alternatives that could deliver by January 2029. He specifically mentions Blue Origin. But according to other rumors, there are also other interested parties from among the defense giants who could be considered. While it cannot be denied that SpaceX had to deal with some setbacks in 2025 with Block 2. Isn't it also naive to believe that another company could be able to build a lunar landing craft just 2 years after the original contract was awarded? No company is ever immune to becoming the Nokia of its industry. But right now it still looks like the next competitor is at least 500,000 decades behind SpaceX. At first glance, this move by Duffy might look like a patriotic act, making sure the US and the Western world are on the moon before China. But since he's a career politician, it's likely that he was courted by the aforementioned defense lobbies. What I also want to make very clear here is that I believe several applicants should have been allowed from the very beginning. But the budgetary constraints at the time forced NASA to choose one of the 3 applicants. And back then they simply chose the cheapest one and the best value for money. In short, the right things are happening here for the wrong reasons. By the way, Duffy also heads the US DOT, basically the Ministry of Transport. After the chaos he's caused now, the decision makers in Washington are frustrated, and voices are growing louder, clamoring for Jared Isaacman as NASA administrator. He would really be what NASA needs right now. I've taken a closer look at Isaacman in some videos. You can find them linked below Blue Origin's Blue Moon. Mark I, a smaller unmanned lander, is more advanced than Mark II. One will launch in 2026, the second in 2027. But be careful, with Mark I, we're talking about an unmanned lander. Sending people to the moon is a whole different ballgame. With modifications, a Mark I could fly manned faster than Starship. But wouldn't that then be the Mark II lander, which is already in development and won't be ready before 2030? Lockheed Martin is getting involved here and talks about a safe solution. Just as a reminder, this is the company that took 20 years to develop Orion. But maybe they've already developed something in the background. Elon Musk, in any case, is angry. He emphasizes this on X. No one is faster than SpaceX, and Blue Origin hasn't brought anything significant into orbit yet, which also applies to Starship. He says the US should build the best moon base, not just win the race. What happens now? Honestly, we're facing a big question mark. Sean Duffy's announcement to reopen the contract for the moon landing came completely out of the blue, without a clear timeline and without a set budget, which raises eyebrows in times of tight government finances. NASA is still moving forward with its plans for the Starship human landing system. The critical design review is scheduled for 2026, a crucial milestone to initiate the construction and testing phase. In addition, there will be long-term tests in orbit and demonstrations for orbital refueling, which might even be combined to save time. Starship Block 3 is intended not only for Artemis 3 but also for an uncrewed landing demonstration, which will land with high precision within 100 meters of the target point on the moon. It has to touch down. SpaceX is already testing a mock-up of the crew cabin to optimize living conditions on board, and new renderings show extended variants for tankers and depots, which are crucial for fuel transfers in space. On the other hand, Blue Origin's architecture for the Blue Moon lander is at least just as complex, with multiple refueling rounds via New Glenn in different orbits. Both systems are designed for reusability. The Starship HLS offers a living volume that is 136 times larger than that of the Apollo lunar landers. We're talking about real spacious lunar habitats here, paving the way for a long-term presence. Flight 11 was a complete success with epic footage. Starbase is preparing Block 3, and the NASA rumors surrounding Starship HLS are causing excitement and tension. Will SpaceX move faster, or will Blue Origin make it through? Or has Lockheed positioned itself a long time ago and is now attacking from the flank? Write it in the comments. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to Mars Chronicles and give it a thumbs up. Thanks to all channel members and Patreon supporters. For early access to our videos, check the information below. My name is Serwan and this was Mars Chronicles. Thanks for tuning in. Pera Spera Astra.